A major winter storm is about to strike the United States again. And this one is going to drop crazy snowfall totals in rare places and bring blizzard conditions for millions of people. It all begins today as a historic Arctic blast will slam the eastern tier of the United States. This will lead to extreme cold and crushed temperature records from Florida to the Northeast. This is terrible news for the nearly 300,000 people who still don't have power due to the crippling ice storm last weekend, which has now caused over 100 fatalities. But another problem is brewing as another dangerous winter storm is likely this weekend. This winter storm is very different from our last one because it will become a powerful bomb cyclone, which is a rare type of winter storm. If this winter storm takes the right track, it could dump feet of snow across the East Coast, with rare snow possible in Florida. What makes this winter storm worse is that blizzard conditions are possible, with wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour on the table for some areas. Now this weekend, we are expecting a sizable winter storm that will impact tens of millions of people along the East Coast. And as we go into tomorrow, and as well as early Saturday, we are at least expecting the possibility of some snowfall, especially in areas like Louisiana and Arkansas, and across areas in the Appalachian Mountains back into the mid-Atlantic. We could even see some snow on Saturday back down in areas like Florida. There is actually a small little area outlined near Tampa and even near Jacksonville where there could be some minor winter storm impacts on Saturday. And we're going to go way more in detail about that here in just a moment. Snow flurries are still a possibility back over in the southern plains and the deep south on Saturday as well. But obviously notice the gaping area of red and just a mix of colors along the East Coast. These are all areas that at least have a high chance right now of seeing minor winter storm impacts. That includes Atlanta, goes into Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Cape Hatteras, back into Maryland, and even into southern New England. The probabilities are fairly high as we go into this weekend. The risk of moderate and major impacts are also fairly high, especially if you're back over in South and North Carolina, and even in eastern Georgia. These are areas that moderate and possibly even major winter storm impacts are going to be felt this weekend, with isolated power outages, significant snow, very high winds, travel impacts across the board. Looking very likely this weekend. Notice that there's about a 90% chance if you're near Greenville and Fayetteville and eastern parts of North Carolina. And then, these are the probabilities of extreme winter storm impacts. This is the highest level on the WSSI scale, and areas in southeastern North Carolina have around a 30 to 40% chance this weekend. And even if you're not being impacted by this winter storm, most of you will be impacted by brutal cold. And there could be some very rare locations, even in areas like Texas, that could see a little bit of snowfall this weekend, outside of this winter storm. Now, let's talk more about this large winter storm that is coming to the United States. And we'll begin with what is happening today. We are expecting some light snow showers across areas in the northern plains, even back into the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. There will be some light snow circling underneath this very intense Arctic high as we go into tonight. And early tomorrow, those snow showers will continue to circle on the south and as well as east side of this high-pressure system. Back over in the Carolinas and Tennessee, there could be some light snowfall later tomorrow and as well as into late tomorrow night. And then, back over in the Central Plains, light snow showers will continue. Do not be surprised on Saturday morning if you see some snow flurries back over in Texas and also back into Alabama and Mississippi, though this will not be widespread. There could be some snowflakes out there, so something to keep an eye out for. But the big story will be the winter storm that'll be forming along the East Coast this weekend. We will begin on Saturday with some showers and maybe some snow showers across the mid-Atlantic, including North Carolina, Virginia, into even areas like Atlanta, Georgia. There will be some light to moderate snowfall out there, with the heaviest snow in the Appalachian Mountains and also near Charlotte in North Carolina. While that's happening, a low-pressure system will begin to move over Florida and then eventually move just south there of Cape Hatteras. And that is when we are expecting the moisture to really crank in this area, and all the cold air wrapping around here will be able to form a very intense winter storm on Saturday. So this is what it looks like by Saturday afternoon and evening. We're going to be watching multiple different things here. The first thing is a large band of snow will be forming on the north and west side of the low-pressure system from Atlanta, Georgia, back towards Virginia Beach, with the heaviest of that snow in South and North Carolina and very far eastern parts of Virginia. While that is happening, we will also have a rare snow event happening in parts of Florida. And this is something that you do not hear very often, but Gulf effect snow is a possibility on Saturday near areas like Tampa, Florida. We could even see some snow along the east coast of Florida near Daytona Beach back towards Melbourne. But on the west coast, that is where areas like Tampa, maybe even as far east as Orlando, could wake up to some snow flurries during the daytime on Saturday. So very crazy stuff here. This is something that is going to be very remarkable if it ends up happening. I do think we're going to see at least some light snowfall. By Saturday night, there's going to be a better chance if you're near Jacksonville, Florida, back towards Daytona Beach for some light snowfall. I don't really expect any accumulation in Florida, but maybe a dusting or a coating is on the table near Tampa. It is going to be extremely cold though in Florida on Saturday. All up and down the East Coast, we're going to be dealing with that big winter storm. So by Saturday night, heavier snowfall will start to mix into the areas like North and South Carolina, eastern Georgia, near Savannah, and then back up into central Virginia, Richmond, and also back near Roanoke. I know a lot of you dealt with sleet and freezing rain with our last winter storm. The good news is that this should be all snow. As we go into late Saturday night and early Sunday morning, this will become a bomb cyclone, meaning our low-pressure system will drop by 24 millibars within a 24-hour period. So, this is going to become a big deal. Just off the coast of North Carolina by Sunday. What that also means is that the winds are going to rapidly intensify, especially if you're in Cape Hatteras, if you are in eastern Virginia, even eastern North Carolina. All of you guys are going to be dealing with some very high winds, and we could have wind gusts upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. That means blizzard conditions are going to be on the table, guys, right along the immediate East Coast. And then during the daytime on Sunday, this winter storm may get close enough to southern New England, including areas in Cape Cod, Nantucket, Long Island, and much of southern New England, could be dealing with some at least light to moderate snowfall. But there is a possibility, if this low-pressure system tracks close enough to the coastline of New England, we could have a winter storm up there as well that could dump upwards of a foot plus of snowfall. While that's happening, we'll also have some light snowfall moving across the Midwest and the Central Plains on Sunday. Sunday night and early Monday is where things get more tricky. It depends on how closely this low-pressure system tracks to the coastline, but if it tracks close enough, we could deal with some light to moderate snowfall Sunday night into early Monday across eastern New England. A little bit of light snow possible in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee as we go into Monday. And then beyond this, things become more uncertain. But it looks like we'll continue to have at least some shots of snow in the United States during the first week of February. Now, let's talk more about exactly how much snow could come out of this winter storm this weekend. And this is an early view of what I think is going to happen. So, I'm going to go from south to north back over in Florida. Yes, there is a possibility of a coating of snow back over near Tampa and even near Orlando, Florida. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, that is entirely a possibility. Back over into parts of the mid-Atlantic. This is where our most significant snow is likely going to end up occurring. So, most of North Carolina, I'm expecting a widespread 5 to 10 inches of snow. Virginia is going to really vary a lot. I think on the northern half of the state, we're going to have much lower totals. Even near Washington, D.C., maybe a couple of inches. Doesn't look overly promising for those areas as of right now. But hey, It's better than dealing with an ice storm. Back over in southern Virginia, near Roanoke and Richmond, we're expecting around 8 to 12 inches of snow if you're on the immediate coastline. So, Cape Hatteras, Virginia Beach, I do think a foot plus of snow is possible. I wouldn't say it's definitely going to happen yet because the track of this low-pressure system matters a lot in terms of how much snow we're going to see here. But if it tracks close enough to the coast, I do think a foot of snow is definitely obtainable. Back over in Georgia and also South Carolina, totals will vary significantly. Like Valdosta, probably not going to see a whole lot, maybe some flurries. Atlanta, Georgia, maybe 2 to 3 inches. And then if you're back over near Savannah, maybe an inch. And then northern parts of South Carolina near Greenville and Myrtle Beach, we are more likely to see around 3 to 5 inches. Over into southern New England and also over New Jersey. This is another area that could see some pretty significant snow if our low-pressure system tracks close enough to the coastline. Areas like Cape Cod and Nantucket could be talking about one of the biggest snowstorms that they have seen in quite some time. We're talking about upwards of 18 inches of snow. That is more snow than what we saw last weekend with our major winter storm. And that one ended up bringing upwards of 24 to 26 inches of snow in parts of New England. So definitely crazy stuff there. Now this is one scenario, but this is the scenario that I do think will pan out for this weekend. On the other hand, this is the one that I do not think is going to pan out. It shows a really historic winter storm, actually, for parts of North Carolina, Virginia, back into Kentucky, showing a widespread 1+ foot of snow, with even some locations near Cape Hatteras seeing 2 feet. Though, this is not impossible. I just do not see this actually happening this weekend, at least for now. I think the numbers are going to be a lot lower, even though our snowfall rates will be pretty significant. We could be talking about 3 inches of snow per hour in some of these areas. Doesn't really show as much snowfall back over in New England. And then this is the European model, which is tracking a bit closer to the coastline. This is a more realistic scenario in my opinion. Even though most of South and North Carolina probably will not be over a foot of snow, I do think coastal regions are going to get hit really hard by this winter system. And then back over in southern New England, near Cape Cod and Nantucket, it does show some much higher totals near 20 to 22 inches of snow. Yes, it is possible. But we're going to have to see what the exact pathing of this winter storm is. This one's a lot more tricky than our last one, because it's a coastal system. These tend to be a lot harder to forecast, and it's going to come down to 10 to 20 miles of placement with that low-pressure system to actually determine who is going to end up seeing the most significant snow. But nonetheless, it is going to be a big deal, guys. Definitely get ready if you're over in the Carolinas and Virginia. I would fully expect winter storm watches, warnings, and possibly blizzard warnings here over the next 48 hours. Now, something that'll be a lot more widespread is a very significant Arctic blast this weekend that will shatter records all along the East Coast. This is mainly going to arrive tomorrow night and into Saturday. It's going to bring very, very cold air back down into the southeast. Areas like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina will be breaking dozens of temperature records on Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, it will stick around through at least Monday and Tuesday of next week before things start to improve as we go into the middle and end of next week. But it is going to remain, I think, pretty chilly across most of the southeast for the next several days. And tomorrow is when this really extreme cold is going to begin across the northern plains and the northeast. We're expecting a lot of areas to be as low as 20 degrees below zero for a low temperature tomorrow morning. That is not the wind chills, that is the actual temperatures. The wind is going to make it feel a lot worse, though. On Saturday, we're expecting very cold air to make its way all the way down towards the Gulf Coast. Some areas will be as low as 0 degrees, like Kansas City and Oklahoma City on Saturday. It's going to get a lot worse there. Even back over near Nashville, and really any area that was just impacted by that crippling ice storm, with again over 200,000 customers still without power. In these areas, we'll be dealing with extreme cold on Saturday. So, hopefully the power gets restored in those areas. And then by late Saturday, early Sunday, those temperatures will drop below freezing across nearly all of Florida. Even Miami will be near freezing temperatures. All of the Ohio Valley. We're talking about extreme cold all across the Northeast. And then on Sunday and Monday, the temperatures will remain very cold all across the eastern tier of the country. Things will begin to improve by the middle and end of next week, but there could be another Arctic shot of air across the southeast at some point during the latter half of next week. But I do think, if we do see another Arctic blast during the later half of next week, it'll be a much smaller version of what we're dealing with this weekend. So again, get ready. Winter is still in full force right now, and it's really not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And you might want to shed a tear if you do not like winter. These are the wind chills as we go into Saturday morning. I don't even know what else to say at this point. It's just going to be cold, guys. There's not really any other way to put it. If you need 20 blankets, you might need those this weekend, because again, it is just going to be downright frigid. Even back over in Florida, it is going to be about 13 degrees over in Orlando for a feel-like temperature. I will be freezing over here in Florida on Sunday, and I know many of you are dealing with much worse conditions, but for me, I am definitely not used to this type of cold. I already have a hoodie on. It's about to get a lot worse. So again, I feel for everybody though, across anywhere in the eastern tier of the country. It is getting very cold, and this weather is really not going to go anywhere, at least for the next 5 days. This is going to be a winter storm that millions of people will remember for years to come, especially those rare snow events in Florida that happen maybe once every decade or longer. Make sure you're prepared for what could be days without power in some areas, and stay safe out there as this historic system develops over the next 48 hours.